So you saw Tenet and you have some questions. Not a problem, that's what we're here for. This is going to be the ending of Tenet Explained, so if you haven't seen it and you care about spoilers, this may not be the video for you, as we'll have to go over pretty much the entire film to explain what happens at the end. One of the most important things that you need to understand about the Tenet movie is the algorithm. The algorithm is a scientific formula that allows time to flow backwards, essentially what they refer to as inverted time. This algorithm is created in the future by a scientist that is unknown, and fearing what the algorithm could do, she splits it into 9 different pieces, hides those 9 different pieces in the past, and then takes her own life. She does this to ensure that nobody will get their hands on the algorithm. However, backtrack to the present time in which the movie takes place. Andrei Sator, the main antagonist, has managed to collect 8 of the 9 pieces of the algorithm. The final piece that he needs is referred to in the movie as 241. This is recovered in the opening scene of the movie by the main character, who is simply referred to as the protagonist. He ends up losing 241 in the beginning, although he doesn't know what it is, just to come in contact with it again later on in the movie and to lose it again to Andrei Sator, giving him the 9 pieces of the entire algorithm. With the entire algorithm now assembled, Andrei Sator plans to use the algorithm to invert time and destroy all of humanity. As it's explained in the movie, time moving forward dominates inverted time moving backwards. However, the algorithm will change that, and time moving backwards will dominate time moving forwards. This will ultimately lead to an apocalypse and the collapse of humankind. The trigger of the algorithm is linked to the death of Andrei Sator. The algorithm is linked to a dead switch that is activated by his fitness tracker. Andrei Sator is actually dying of cancer, so he plans to take his own life and take humanity with him. He believes that because he can't live, humanity can't live either. As soon as he kills himself, his fitness tracker will activate the dead switch, which will activate the algorithm, killing humanity. And enter the Tenet team. The Tenet team believes that Andrei will take his life on the 14th, as this is described by his wife as the last time he experienced true happiness. And then Sator disappeared for some time the following day. The Tenet team learns that Sator's forces plan on burying the complete algorithm underground in a vault in what is called the Hypercenter, a space used for subsurface nuclear detonations. Midway through the film, the Tenet soldier Ives, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, tells everybody that it's possible to perform a temporal pincer move in which one team of people moves forward in time to see how an event plays out, while the other team travels backward through time simultaneously, each with the benefit of knowing how it happened from the other team. This is how Sator was able to steal the 241, the final part to the algorithm, from the protagonist during the inverted highway chase, and it's also how the Tenet team performs their final attack. The Tenet teams, using a type of time travel devices, are able to go back in time to the 14th. Their plan is to take the algorithm before Sator can end his life, therefore saving humanity. At the Hypercenter in the final battle, the Tenet army splits into 2 different teams, the red team and the blue team, with the red team moving forward in time and the blue team inverted, moving backwards. Robert Pattinson's character Neil is on the blue team, moving backwards in time, and Ives and the protagonist on the other, heading forwards in time with the benefit of the knowledge passed on by Neil's team. This is another temporal pincer movement. But the plan is simply a distraction, so a Splinter Cell team consisting of the protagonist and Ives can sneak into the Hypercenter and steal the algorithm. Simultaneously, Kat went back in time to be with Sator on the 14th to ensure that he doesn't know about the attack, and take him out once the dead switch can no longer trigger the algorithm. During the attack, the protagonist and Ives infiltrate the Hypercenter. Inside the Hypercenter, they come to a locked door, and behind it is Sator's right-hand man trying to bury the algorithm. Behind it, there is also a dead Tenet soldier who has a red string attached to his bag. Sator's right-hand man attempts to kill the protagonist, but the soldier with the red string on his bag springs back to life by time inversion and is shot instead. The soldier then is able to open the door for the protagonist and Ives, and they are able to get the algorithm. At the same time, Kat, unable to let Sator think that he's won, reveals that Tenet is about to steal the algorithm. She shoots him in the chest and then slides him off the side of the boat, where he hits the side and instantly dies. Luckily, the Tenet team and Ives and the protagonist were able to steal the algorithm, so it wasn't set off when he died. Kat then jumps off of the side of the boat, which means she's actually the woman that she thought her husband was cheating on her with jump off the side of the boat. The woman that she thought she envied for being free was actually herself. This also means that Sator did not disappear disappear for a few days after he was actually dead. At the end, the algorithm is split into 3 different pieces and is divided between Ives, Neil, and the protagonist. They agree to hide the algorithm, and then it's implied that they should kill themselves after. Ives says that the decision to kill themselves will be based on the individual person's choice, but if he does see one of them in person, he will kill them, and he will be actively looking for them. However, before they split off and go their 3 separate ways, Neil has a big reveal. Neil reveals that he was actually recruited in the future by the protagonist, and that from his perspective, they've known each other for a very long time and have become dear friends. Neil's timeline actually runs backwards from that of the protagonist. This explains why in the beginning of the movie, Neil knows that the protagonist never drinks on the job and prefers Diet Coke. In this scene, it is revealed that Neil has a red string attached to his bag. This tells us that he's the Tenet soldier that takes the bullet for Neil in the hypercenter, therefore killing him. But he also has to invert himself to go back and open the door for them so they can get the algorithm. This means that he does in fact have to go back, and he does in fact have to die. Because as he explains, he's the team's best picklock. This also reveals that Neil in the very beginning opera scene of the movie is the one that saves the protagonist, as indicated by the red string on his bag. As Neil leaves to seal his fate and make sure the algorithm is taken by the protagonist, he says that for him, since he's inverted, it's the ending of a beautiful friendship between him and the protagonist, but for the protagonist, it's only the beginning of the friendship. And in revealing that the protagonist is the one who recruited him, it's revealed that the protagonist is actually the one who founded Tenet, or he would go on to in the future. Since the protagonist is actually the one who started Tenet, it means that he is the one who actually recruited himself and Priya. He then shoots and kills Priya because she's trying to take the life of Kat. The Tenet organization believe that people who have a knowledge of time inversion should be eliminated. But of course the protagonist makes an exception for Kat. And that is the ending of Tenet Explained. Be sure to let us know what you thought about the film in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on all the latest awesome movies and shows. This is Warren, and thanks so much for joining us here at Cosmic Culture.